One guy I always thought was kind of funny was George Carlin. Man, I know he's pretty irreverent, but it's funny. But I don't like necessarily agree with it really in a real sense. But he brings out some things you want to think about. A little common sense, right? I always like that. And one thing I always had, he knocks religion a lot, and in a lot of ways, I see it as a racket. I almost agree with that. And I've noticed that many times the biggest enforcers of what goes on as far as, who supports the oil industry, who supports this that's in medicine, and, who supports the United States in everything they do, no matter what, which I guess you should in a way, but, who blindly supports it? It's usually these ones that are way into religion. The ultra-conservative types. And sometimes, you got the other side, you got the wacko liberals. But one thing I did notice, these are people usually that don't want to stick their neck out at all. They never will. And, and I look at somebody that's into religion, I know George Carlin kind of knocks it down here. He says, I would never want to be a member of a group whose symbol was a man nailed to two pieces of wood, especially if it's me, interview with Jesus. Now, I never thought of it that way, but I could tell you that the point with Jesus was that he told the truth, right? He went against the system, didn't he? Well, you know what? Most Christians don't do that. They take the safe route all the way, and they are part of the system. And the evil Satanists, if you want to call them that, if there is good and evil, they use them like a bunch of suckers, and they gladly play the game right to the max because it lines their pocket. You'll see this with doctors, pharmaceutical people, the purveyors of poisons, people working in the petrochemical industry. Basically, all the higher-end professions that actually don't do anything productive in this country. It'll be loaded with these religious people supporting something, but they don't think beyond the box, and this thing I always knew this garbage about industrial hemp and agriculture, but I never really thought people would actually bother with it. It's almost like it's not a quick fix. It might require work in some ways, and a lot of people just don't bother with it. But I do realize that that actually is the answer to a lot of things, because what goes on, they talk about the so-called conspiracies and what does this and what does that. A lot of it is wrapped around the oil and energy industry and the petrochemical industry and DuPont and different things like that. It's not so much that it's other things like who's elected in office and what's Ben Bernanke doing. It's a bunch of garbage. See, what really causes independence is when people are totally self-sustaining. I was smart enough that, in my case, people would be extremely envious because I got like practically zero bills and I got money right at the same time. How's that? Plus income. So, a lot of people would be envious of getting where I'm at, although I don't consider myself wealthy, but I ain't got to worry about crap, But I think that's the whole point. You have to be 110% independent. And the way to be independent is through being able to produce your own income. And part of that actually is through agriculture. And hemp would be one of the best ones going, period. But you know what's going on. You know what's going on with that. That actually is what my real main point is. When you have like government by the people, for the people, and of the people have to be independent in every respect, economically and every different way, where people are actually granting the government the power. You see? And that's the whole economic model has gotten away from that. And actually, a lot of these people, this whole structure that's basically comes through government big business is actually pretty much enforced by religious people. You know? I don't know if you can quite see what I'm talking about, but that's usually the type that likes to follow every little stupid thing out there and likes to be told and have a book right in front of them, and this is how it's going to be done, line by line by line, and they never deviate from it because they feel safe in that. That's one reason I have a beef against some religious people sometimes, because they're not really religious. They're afraid to make a conscientious decision on their own. But anyway, I'm going to keep pushing some alternative things out there. One is on health, because I think every single disease out there could be wiped out easily. And number two is actually on agriculture and this industrial hemp product especially, because that is wealth that could be grown, versus wealth that's preserved. Big difference. Wealth that is grown is far more important. But, the point is, we gotten into this little BS yuppie society where people wouldn't want to do that anyway. They want to get rich quick scheme, and there really isn't anything like that. But, a lot of things with that going on in the economy is like there's so much regulation also that people can't even get into even alternative businesses. It's almost impossible. So, but really what's enforcing all that bureaucracy, a lot of times you'll find these church-going Christian types, dutifully doing their little job while they're praying to Jesus and all this type of stuff, but they don't want to think outside the box. They need to be told. They like to be told how to think. And I really call a lot of those so-called kind of Christians as fake Christians, and they piss me off to the max. So I kind of started this out with George Carlin, the irreverent George Carlin. There's a lot of stuff I kind of liked what he said. It was kind of, well, I guess you could say it was kind of funny, but it made you think. It made you think outside the box. And, that's my point. Think outside the box. And, a lot of these people that are way into religion, they got to think a little harder. I think I think it's all a big fake sham with a lot of people on the outside. And I get very annoyed at that type of stuff, to tell you the truth. But anyway, the real route to independence, where the people are actually controlling the government per se, is people have to be economically independent themselves. And one of the best ways to do that is possibly through growing industrial hemp. It's an idea that can be easily pushed, pretty easy. It's not that difficult. Problem is, a lot of people aren't going to jump on the bandwagon because they like to be told what to do. And where sometimes you might get the biggest resistance is these brainwashed people that are so ultra conservative. And like I said, I'm not a person that smokes weed or takes drugs or anything like that, but a lot of ultra conservative people are totally in the camp of the most evil big bucks Satanists that control everything. And they wear the religion. It's a bunch of garbage. It's a bunch of garbage. I hope you know what I'm getting at, but I see another angle on a lot of stuff, and it annoys me. I've seen this forever. I see a lot of religious people aren't religious. Guess that's what I'm saying.